Our HMRC are fair nuts. We didn't receive your tax return on time. £100 penalty from me dad. That's been dead for nearly 2, bastard, yeah! Well, last year, well, of course, he didn't receive the cause he's dead! And they're fake. They know he's dead. Well, yeah, I hope not. I hope he's not out there working. Goes to them for shouting out there.
HMRC, they're not taxing the organisations they should be taxing that are getting away with billions in turnover that aren't paying anything. They're not taxing people like me who are trying to pay my taxes and registering me, making me liable for losses or a later court case. And they're also allowing people to defraud them because they had a self-assessment scam using my details a couple of years ago and they were defrauded like 10 grand.
Hey guys, this is shocking. We're always taught to save. We're always taught to keep money for the rainy day. But now, if you've got that money, Labour want it. Now, the HMRC are sending letters out to people who have got more than £3,500 in their bank account because they want some of it. After all, Labour are running out of money, and Labour do need the money to pay for all these hotels and to pay for all these money that they're sending abroad to all these different countries. Just shocking. So, the people who've got more than 3,500 in their bank account, you're going to get a letter from the HMRC asking very nicely, we want some of that money. What's the point in saving? What's the point in trying to make a better life for yourself? What's the point of trying to save for the future? It just seems the government want all people on low income to suffer, to struggle. It's just absolutely madness. So, if you've got 3,500 in your bank account, it looks like you're going to get taxed on it. So it's better to take it out of the bank, put it under your bed, to keep it off away from Labour's hands. Just shocking. Let me know if you're fed up with this government just grabbing every single penny that we have. Leave your comments below, guys.
Good morning, just jumping on to do a quick video before I go in the office. One of the things I want to talk about is making tax digital. We spoke about this loads a couple of years ago. We spoke at CCR about it, updating practitioners what HMRC intended to bring in. They were going to bring these changes in 2024. However, that didn't happen, and it's all set to start in April 2026. In a nutshell, what this means is for your personal income, which means when you're taking dividends out of the company, or you're running a sole trader business, you need to be declaring that income to HMRC every quarter. So speaking really simply, that means your yearly self-assessment is now 5 times the work. You need to be submitting this 4 times a year, and then a final submission, which will be the year-end submission, like a tax return. But you've got these 4 submissions throughout the year, and that starts in a year's time. And a year feels like it's ages away, but it's not, and it'll come in quite quickly. So we have already implemented this in our practice from 2022. All our clients are on the right software. We can produce that data. We are going to be running beta testers with HMRC for our client base so that we're already ahead of the game, because whenever HMRC introduce anything, it goes wrong. So we're going to be doing that throughout this tax year so that we're ready for when this comes in April 2026. If you're not a client and you need help with this, get in touch. We've got the calendar link, so book into the right calendar link. We will set one up specifically for personal tax and MTD. If you are a new injector going into the industry, regardless if you haven't got a client base but you're starting up, we've got the Aesthetic Accounting Academy that helps you get on the software. You get one of our books. It gets the foundation laid correctly, because you will grow so fast. And it makes sure that stepping stone in the journey is there from the beginning, and this will help as well when it comes to you declaring your income quarterly to HMRC. But yeah, any other questions about MTD and personal tax, just give us a call or drop into our calendar link or our DMs. Take care.
There we have it. £222 billion. That's what's cost you and me, the taxpayer, for net zero so far. We'll break down the costs in a minute, but just think about what that money could have been spent on. Think about the poor young kids who are going hungry before school. Think about the poor veterans that we should be showing respect, and instead they're sleeping rough on our streets. Think about the NHS and the long waiting times and the lack of care. Where this money could have been spent is endless. But no, we chose to spend it on net zero. We as the UK spend around 17 billion a year, and it's set to rise to 20 billion a year just on levies, taxes and subsidies. Things like carbon tax, which we have a 55% carbon tax in this country alone. Now, carbon tax is a way of making fossil fuel energy more expensive, which therefore makes renewable energy more competitive. So they're outpricing us. They are making us poorer so that we have to buy this new renewable energy, solar panels, wind farms, etc., etc. Now wait until you hear this one. We have a £2 billion a year cost because our grid, our energy grid, isn't efficient enough to run the new renewable sources. So we are investing in renewable energy, bearing in mind our own grid can't support it. But still, it's a way of taxing you. I mean, these days you only really see 3 or 4 countries really pushing net zero. I think it's us, France, Germany, Canada, and maybe a few others. So really, do we need to have a thought about this? Are we spending our money wisely? Are we helping the fundamentals of our country that really do matter, like NHS care and education and policing? Or, you know, what's the other option? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think we should be saving the planet at this rate that me and you don't actually have a life because we're spending so much of our tax on stuff that clearly isn't working? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think.
Oh my God, have you heard about the grocery tax in the UK? So let me tell you about it. So from the 1st of Jan 2025, coming soon, we're going to get taxed on our groceries when we go shopping. So the start is on the 1st of Jan 2025, and they're doing it for, I think, recycling purposes, etc. And charges are going to be varying by material type. So like Aldi, you know, Lidl and all these shops, so they will incur a fee of £485 per tonne, while paper and cardboard will be like £215 per tonne. So it's going to increase for them, meaning they're going to increase the prices for us. So we're going to get taxed on groceries. And it's getting ridiculous. So the cost could go up to like 10, 20, 30 pounds per month. And it's getting really ridiculous. Prices are already going up, and now they're increasing all of this as well. We're getting more and more taxes and more different kind of things added. But what difference is it making in the country? Nothing, literally. They're just getting more money, the government, but the average people like us, where are we getting at?
Let's be clear. The UK EU reset doesn't just cost us sovereignty. It's a financial black hole. Here are the real costs that the British taxpayer are going to have to pay. £15.7 billion. That's our expected contribution to the EU's Safe Defence Programme. That's not to win EU contracts like they're telling us. That's just to let our armed forces keep buying equipment from British companies. It's going to cost us £15 billion a year to follow EU food and veterinary standards and rules that we don't write but have to follow, and it's going to be enforced by the EU courts. £150 million a year to join the Erasmus Youth Mobility Scheme. Youth. Do you call adults in their 30s youths? Again, it's going to be paid for by us and controlled by them. And that's just the start. We're also contributing to EU regulatory agencies and border systems, all adding up to billions more. These are hard-earned British tax pounds sent overseas to follow rules we don't make under systems we don't control. And for what? A small potential increase in trade that doesn't come close to covering the cost. And what else are we getting for it? Access to airport e-gates that we could have used from day one, and some countries in the EU already let us use. This isn't cooperation. It's a blank cheque, and it's being paid for by you.
Morning guys, we're about to enter into a new trade deal with the EU. This is what it includes. Some freedom of movement, youth mobility, right across Europe. You're allowed to travel anywhere you want in Europe. without any major controls for a couple of years under a visa. That means Europeans can come and go here and we can come and go there. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's going to include things like French and European access to our fishing grounds. It's going to have an agricultural agreement relating to farmers and their foods. We're going to have closer ties with their security services and their armed forces, sharing more information than we were. We're likely to come under some European court legislation about decisions relating to the agreement. We're also going to have apparently fast track access to the European passport system, so we don't have to queue when we go on holiday. Well, hey! See, there's always a bonus to these things. Brexit betrayal, but you don't have to queue anymore at passports. What can you ask for? Look, I'm going to go into this open-minded. I'm going to go into this along the lines of what are the benefits to us doing this trade agreement and what are the costs? Normally, when you trade with the EU and you do a deal, you sacrifice freedom for benefits. Keir Starmer promised us before the general election we weren't going into closer ties with Europe, but of course there was the incredible £22 billion black hole, which changed everything. It changed every promise that he made before the election so that he can now go back on them. Old Pinocchio once again. So this is my concern. If we can't trust him on anything he's done to date, how can we trust him this trade agreement's a good one? We've got no details on it. They haven't come out to consultation and shared with the British public what that's going to look like. And the European Union want a 10-year agreement. Apparently Labour have gone in looking for 4 years, but the EU want 10. And because we haven't done the deal yet and we're heading to the Keir Starmer 10 o'clock deadline today to get it done, I'm going to take a bet we end up with a 10-year trade agreement with the EU and we sacrifice all 10 years of freedom to get this great deal that's going to be good for the British public, good for jobs, good for food pricing, good for import, export, good for movement. Let me know what you think. I think you know what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, let's see the details, but I'm very sceptical this is going to be good for the UK because not a lot so far has been. Guys, have a great day. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. If you don't like it, write to your MP. Send them an email. They'll ignore you anyway, but it might make you feel a bit better. And remember, if a politician lies to you on multiple occasions, can you trust them? Remember that, guys. Remember, if you're lied to once or twice or 3 times in a row, that person you're dealing with was a liar. Boris Johnson was a liar. We saw it. We voted him out. Keir Starmer, so far, is a liar. We see it. Please, let's vote him out if he carries on like this. Take care, guys. See you later.
So Parliament debated the new EU deal yesterday. And guess who didn't show up? Mr. Brexit himself, Nigel Farage. Where is he? Enjoying the sun in the south of France. The man who's made a career out of shouting about sovereignty, the one whose party has been the loudest about this deal, wasn't even in the room when it mattered. So a week before Parliament breaks up, the biggest EU-related discussion since 2016, and the people's champion is knocking back a rosé and knee. And while he accuses Starmer of betrayal, he just betrayed his own supporters and the movement he claims to lead. So next time he starts going on, they're betraying Brexit, just remember, he didn't even turn up to defend it.
Keir Starmer just sold out the UK to the EU in front of the world. In 2019, the UK left the European Union, and Keir Starmer has just reversed all of that by not joining the EU, but instead handing over pretty much all independence to them. The main one is a 12-year agreement on EU fishing boats in UK water, meaning any fisherman from any country in Europe can now fish in English water. Apparently Macron and the French have been hitting on this for a while because England, rightfully so, has been taxing European countries whenever they enter British waters. So what does Starmer give up for this? Nothing. He literally gave up nothing. He handed this away on a deal because he wanted a reset. They called this the reset deal so that the EU and the UK can get together. Over 20 years, the EU promised 9 billion euros investments into England. On the other way around, England promised 19 billion euros in investments in Europe. Nationalism dies every day in Europe, and please, how is Keir Starmer still in charge?
Let me hammer home this point about the tax burden in the UK. It is from all of my life, the tax burden sort of hovered around the 33-34% of national income. Sometimes there's some cyclical changes. It's now 38% of national income, and that is a historic change. And I honestly would be surprised if it ever goes back down in the rest of my lifetime to where it was for all of my lifetime up till 2020. And as you say, the pressures are in the other direction, given aging populations, demands for public services, and poor economic growth as well is clearly part of the issue here. So if we do need more, I think it will be the broad-based taxes.
You're assuming that corporations pay tax, at least the tax that they owe, which they don't. Tax avoidance and tax loopholes is a huge business that corporations and the wealthy take advantage of. Also, corporations can only be successful if people are buying what they're selling, and predominantly the majority of people who are buying these things that these corporations are selling are the middle and lower classes. Apple wouldn't make money if people weren't buying Apple products. Primark wouldn't make money if people weren't buying their clothes. So here you have these corporations not paying the tax that they owe because they're utilizing tax loopholes and tax avoidance schemes, and the wealthy are getting wealthier at the direct expense of the poor and middle classes, who are the reason why the wealthy can make money. The wealthy are literally hoarding wealth in offshore savings accounts. They're storing their money in assets, which does not contribute to the economy at all. So bringing more wealthy people in, bringing more corporations into the UK doesn't help at all. What will help the economy is giving more opportunity for the lower and middle classes to make money and generate wealth, because they are way more essential to a functioning economy than corporations and the wealthy. Also, the vast majority of businesses in the UK are small businesses, so we need the lower and middle classes to be able to create these small businesses and employ people. That actually stimulates the economy. Big businesses coming into the UK, that doesn't help. That just, it makes things worse, actually. So the only way the UK will not be reliant on immigration anymore is if the poor and middle classes can be able to afford to live, to be able to afford to have babies, because right now the birth rate has fallen below replacement levels. And that just means that the wealthy will need to pay their fair share of tax. So we can make the UK a better place to do business as long as those businesses are paying their taxes, which right now they aren't. They aren't.
Last time I was in this spot, I made a video about how being an entrepreneur in the UK is not bad at all. Like, it's a great country to live in. When we're getting weather like this, which the sun is beautiful, I was just saying, like, it's really overhated. But yeah, even though this weather is really nice right now, I fucking changed my mind, bro. The taxes are they're just a joke, bro. It's actually, there's no incentive for anyone to go out and make money and start a business. Like, the only way it happens is for someone like me who just doesn't give a about the taxes, tries to make the money. Then when you're making the money, you realise, oh, this is awful. And then, of course, that's why everyone eventually ends up leaving. But to be honest, I don't think I'm going to leave, I've had a look at all the options. At this point, I'm just like, you might as well firm it. It's not going to change. You've just got to focus. Like, the only thing you can change is yourself, to make more money yourself. But I mean, by the taxes, everything else is pretty solid. There's some beautiful parts in the UK. It's very nice when the weather's good. People ramble on about the people all the time, but it's not every single person that's a knob. You can just choose who you want to associate with.
So, have you seen the news about this article where the UK, pound for pound for property value, gives the worst level of accommodation if you compare it to any other sort of Western world or civilised world? I mean, it's not surprising. You look at these shitholes, these Victorian terraces, or even the new builds, which are not built to live in. It's just a joke, really. You think in the UK, you're taxed, you're nearly dead, to pay for people who don't want to work, to pay for services if you've got any money you don't even want to use. You get private healthcare, private education, and anything else that you can pay for just to get away from this shit service. And then what you've got in terms of level of accommodation is shit. I mean, these cardboard boxes, and then if you do manage to find somewhere, when you decide to leave your house, most of the city centres close down because all the shops are dying, because guess what? They have to pay stupid amounts of money in business rates.
Do you know how much money you would actually earn from a £100,000 salary? Because the answer might surprise you. Firstly, there's your pension contributions, which luckily is taken before tax. So with an average contribution of 5%, comes out to roughly £2,200. Next, in the UK, you have a tax-free allowance of £12,570. So everything you earn after that is taxable, meaning you'll be paying roughly £26,500 in tax. But don't forget your national insurance as well, as that comes out to just over £4,000. Finally, there's your student loan repayments, which if you're on plan 2 comes out to roughly £6,500. So after all of this, your actual take-home pay from a £100,000 salary is actually £60,696.50.
So on Labour's VAT for private schools scheme, whilst on paper sounds great, doesn't it? Brilliant. All these private schools, people with loads of money paying tuition are paying more. They can put more into the public sector. In reality, it's people with children with SEND needs that schools can't meet, that now cannot send their children to school because they can't afford the tuition with the VAT. A lady has just been accepted to take the Labour government to court over human rights issues because she can no longer send her autistic child to school because none of the mainstream schools in her area will take her because of her need. She has to go to private school to get her needs met. Thousands of SEND children are going to end up in mainstream school or not in education at all. This VAT great idea has not been well thought out. They haven't thought about the implications. They haven't thought about the type of people that are using private schools. It's not just the rich and wealthy.
You know, one thing I gotta love about the UK is the fact that you are taxed to your throat, right? And this is, it amazes me, okay? And let me just go through some of the taxes that you're liable for in the UK, and then I'll make a few comments afterwards. So say you have a job. Now, if you have a job, you have to pay income tax, which varies from 20% to 45%, and you also have to pay national insurance contributions. It's just a nice way to divide it into a different terminology, but basically it's pretty much the same thing, really. So you've got that, and then also you have other taxes as well. Let's say, you know, the national insurance contributions that I mentioned, your employer needs to pay that too. So both of you pay it. So there's that. Then if you're self-employed, let's say through a limited company, you also have corporation tax to pay. So there is that. Let's say you have a limited company. Say I've got my limited company, right? And I have a certain amount of earnings. So I pay somewhere in between 19 to 25%, depending on my profit range, on the corporation tax. I pay that. Then I also have to pay dividend tax that I take. So, and also if I pay myself, you know, from the profits through pay, then I also have to pay national insurance contributions and also income tax. That's a very interesting way to kind of look at it. Then, also, when you buy anything, the groceries, anything you buy, you're also paying taxes on those. You're paying VAT, technically. So you're taxed in there as well. You buy a property, you pay stamp duty tax. You sell the property, you pay capital gains tax again. Let's say, or for example, and the loveliest of all, inheritance tax. You know, your parents pass away and they pass down their generational wealth to you. You pay inheritance tax on that one as well. This is just an exhaustive list, but also, don't allow me to forget these two lovely ones, which are increasing as well. You rent a property, you pay council tax on that. You want to watch live TV? You have to pay for a TV license. You're just taxed anywhere, you know. Very soon, you're going to have to pay around a pence for every breath that you take. That's the outlook for the UK. But one question remains. See, I don't mind paying taxes where I get something for my taxes. You know, I'm a compliant person. But this is one question that I have. All these taxes that we pay, what are we getting in return? Are we getting an improved quality of life? Do we get a better police force? No, we don't, because, you know, if there's a burglary in your house, the police are nowhere to show up, and they just give you a crime reference number, which is what they generally do for in the case of any sort of crimes, depending on what it may be. You want to get a doctor's appointment, you have to wait weeks. You know, the NHS is crumbling down to its knees, and it's always the excuse of, oh, we don't have enough nurses, we don't have enough money, there is austerity, there is this. You look at anything, you look at unemployment rates, you look at, you know, the range of services that may be available, mental health services, nothing. It's the quality is deteriorating and is degrading every day, but you have to pay more tax. You just pay more. Just pay the tax, and God knows where this money goes. I mean, we do know where it goes, don't we? But I'm not going to get into that one in this video. Maybe in another video. See you later.